Because my lists of sexually explicit movies are among some of my most viewed, I thought I'd make a list of movies that destroyed my innocence. All of them feature some of the most graphic adult content I've ever seen in a movie. This episode is sponsored by Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe. But my goodness, we're about to go over some movies that are going to make your toes curl, including one that did not make the list, but that I watched in preparation for this video, Crash. No, not the stupid one that won Best Picture years ago. No, the one directed by David Cronenberg. In this movie, James Spader plays a man who has a car crash with none other than Holly Hunter, and afterwards, both of them become sexually attracted to car accidents. It's a really bizarre movie. I think it's either supposed to be about sex addiction or David Cronenberg didn't know that he was a sex addict when he made this movie, because it is a wild movie, insanely sexually graphic, has one of the worst dirty talking scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie, and honestly some pretty killer performances and some amazing footage of car crashes, but not a whole lot else. Oh yeah, there's a lot of sex in it, like more than you're gonna want to see. But my true blue number 10 pick on this list is a disturbing one, but this one's disturbing in ways that no other movie is that I can recall. It's titled Nil By Mouth, and it was written and directed by Gary Oldman. In this movie, Ray Winston plays an abusive father and husband, and it is dark, disturbing stuff. There's a lot of screaming in this movie, but killer performances. Yet this was sort of Gary Oldman's response to Tarantino movies.
You know, one would imagine that cinema started with Reservoir Dogs, you know, and people coming in and shooting one another up, and it's all trendy, and you know, and it's all wisecracking, and it's absolutely sod all to do with life. And I just got sick of seeing it, that trend. I thought, when's someone actually going to make a movie that's really take the gloves off and get honest with it, you know?
He's actually on record saying he didn't like all the exaggerated hyper stuff. He wanted to make something really raw and real. He did that with Nil By Mouth, and my goodness, this movie's so disturbing, it's not talked about, despite the fact that Gary Oldman wrote and directed it, and it's got a bunch of killer performances in it. It can just be so off-putting, it's not a movie people really want to talk about, so we're going to move on. Now, anyone who has seen my next pick will know exactly why it's on this list, and I'm going to have to tiptoe around how I talk about it, because we're on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie I cannot say on this platform. But here we're talking about Lars von Trier's Antichrist. Now right away, I know there's some people skipping over this portion. This is a movie you watch once, you put it away, you never watch it again. Now, it does have some stunning cinematography, some really kind of warped, mystic elements that you can try to figure out, and then ultimately, it just goes to a place I never want to go again in a movie. Trust me, not everything on this list is as disturbing as these two picks, but my God, Antichrist, it goes for it in ways that I really don't think movies probably should. But just like Nil By Mouth, it's got killer performances. This one's bizarrely sexually graphic. I mean, from the opening shots of the movie. It's also deeply upsetting. There's a dead child, a storyline in the mix, so that's all really bothersome as well, in addition to some of the just more graphic elements that you get into later in this one. If you've ever seen anything from Lars von Trier, like The House That Jack Built, Antichrist is maybe his most dream-like movie. Doesn't really make it his best, but it's certainly one of his more visually stunning flicks. But my number 8 pick on this list is the mildest out of anything on this list, yet it's still just completely, cracked open my perspective on what it means to be in a marriage and what can ultimately happen in a marriage, and that's Blue Valentine. Now, what's so disturbing about Blue Valentine is you follow a young couple that fall in love, and then they fall in love very deeply, get married, have just sort of a beautiful love story. Ultimately, a love story that starts to sour. Now, most of this movie is just drama. It is just Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams, again, falling in love and then kind of falling out of love. And it's just dramatic scene after dramatic scene, or rather, the first portions of the movie are actually quite nice and sweet, but ultimately it just goes to a place of heartbreak. Now, even though that doesn't sound like a fun movie to watch, the reason I'm recommending it here is because it is just expertly directed. It is so well done that it's one of the best movies of its kind. There are a lot of movies about divorce and people struggling with that in different ways. That's a big crux of Blue Valentine, is this couple in turmoil, and it is just beautifully directed, acted, and shot. It's got amazing cinematography, top-notch performances. It takes you there, even if it's a place you really would rather not be. My next one takes you to a place you really don't want to be either. This one is overtly about sex addiction, and it stars Michael Fassbender as a sex addict in Shame. Now, this is from director Steve McQueen, who also did a film called Hunger with Fassbender, but he's maybe most known for 12 Years a Slave, which he did just after Shame. But in Shame, Michael Fassbender plays a relatively successful man living in New York City who suffers from a severe sex addiction. And honestly, a sex addiction that looks pretty fun in the first parts of the movie. It doesn't look that bad. He's actually pretty efficient at charming women early on in this movie, but as it goes deeper and deeper, they really start to explore some of the darker parts of sex addiction. This one too, it's beautifully shot. I mean, it's just a stunner of a movie. Top-notch performances, and my goodness is this thing sexually explicit. Like, if you think you've seen something by the first half of this movie, just wait till it gets further along. This is a wild one. But again, top-notch filmmaking. They make you feel all the feelings, whether you want to feel them or not. Now, I'm sure that my number 6 pick is on some of your list. If you've got a list like this, movies that just completely wrecked you and changed your perspective on life, this next one's likely on it. Funny Games.
It's a really great set of clubs. May I? Would you mind if I tried this?
If it makes you happy.
Thank you. Mr. Farber. What?
Now, there's 2 versions of Funny Games, and they're both from the same director. One is the original Austrian version. The other is the English version that actually stars Naomi Watts and Tim Roth, and it's practically a frame-by-frame remake. Both movies are currently included on Max. And you really could go either way. I know some people swear by the original. They really are close to the same movie. And one of the reasons Funny Games is so disturbing is not just the disturbing things that occur in the movie, but it's the fact that the 2 perpetrators are just seemingly ordinary guys that are doing this for no reason other than just shits and giggles. Which is a terrifying concept, so the performances here also really elevate this thing and make it work. This one's not as disturbing as people sell it on, at least not visually. Again, psychologically, this movie's just pure torture. All right, now that we've talked about some of the most frightening home invasion movies of all time, it's a good time to talk about how today's sponsor, Simply Safe, can help protect your home or business. Simply Safe offers a wide range of home security products, and I love that I can mix and match what I need to protect my property without having to deal with a pesky salesman. I personally love to have eyes on my property, who's coming and going. So I've got a couple of cameras, including a doorbell camera, and you can easily install most of what they offer, or you can opt for a professional installation. And as you know, with traditional systems, they only alert someone when the alarm goes off. But Simply Safe also offers Active Guard outdoor protection, which uses AI and facial recognition to identify potential threats and notify a Simply Safe monitor before setting off your alarm for an extra layer of protection. And you just use the Simply Safe app to monitor your cameras, activate the system, and you can do all of this anywhere, anytime. And the monitoring plans are affordable with Simply Safe. They start at around $1 a day, and there's no long-term contracts. Having this system brings me a peace of mind. I want you to have the same peace of mind, so I've actually partnered with Simply Safe to bring you an exclusive 50% discount on your new system. Just go to simplysafe.com/flick to get 50% off your new Simply Safe security system when you sign up for professional monitoring plans, and you get your first month free. There's no safe like Simply Safe, which is why I recommend them, but speaking of things I recommend, let's get to the top picks on this list. Now, the director of my next selection would go on to be a multi-time Academy Award nominee for films like The Favorite, Poor Things, but one of his first movies I think is still his best and somehow still his weirdest, Dogtooth. I'm actually partial to his follow-up to Dogtooth, The Lobster. That said, though, Dogtooth is a wild one. This too, it's foreign language, you're gonna have to read subtitles, but it's almost not even worth explaining. His movies are so bizarre on their own, and then Dogtooth is easily the weirdest, but I'll do my best. You've got a family that basically lives in isolation. They've got teenage children, and they never leave the walls of their house. They're so sheltered, in fact, that they don't even know what a cat is. Yeah, so that kind of stuff happens in this movie. If you can't handle it, do not watch this movie, but that's why it's on the list. There's so many bizarre elements to this thing, yet I found it interesting from beginning to end. I mean, my goodness, there are moments in this movie. It's been a long time. It's been over 10 years since I've seen Dogtooth, because it's a one-time watch kind of a thing. There are scenes that are just burned into my brain from that one viewing that are making me squint right now. If it sounds like I'm rambling about nothing, this is a very difficult movie to explain, so I'm not even really going to try. If you don't like watching movies that are difficult to explain, you're going to hate Dogtooth. Okay, number 4, I just held up 5 fingers, but number 4 is the best and also at the same time worst movie about sexual assault ever made. The reason I frame it that way is the filmmaking in Irreversible is so pitch perfect. It makes this movie, again, torture to watch, which is why it's the most effective movie depicting sexual assault ever made. Now, this one is from legendary director Gaspar Noé, and just like Christopher Nolan's Memento, this movie takes place in reverse, and it's titled Irreversible, imagine that. But telling this story in reverse order is the exact way you want to do it. It makes it so intense and compelling. I'll say the second most intense scene in the entire movie is the very first one. So if you can't handle that, get out of this movie. I'm telling you, this is an intense one. This is not hyperbole. But it features incredible performances from Vincent Cassel and Monica Bellucci. A lot of the scenes are filmed as long, continuous takes, which also works to kind of elevate this story. This movie is famous for depicting a horrific in a tunnel. Again, the filmmaking, it's good. It's excellent filmmaking, but it is a disturbing moment in your life watching this thing go down. I'm all for effective movies, and my God, like Irreversible, it's one of the most effective movies of its kind. So what could top that? My number 3 selection is a French film about an affair, kind of, like loosely, but it's so wild and so bizarre, it even left Louis C.K. scratching his head.
She goes into a booth, like a private booth, puts coins in, and starts watching like a and you come around behind her and you see this in the movie, you see the full-on sex, and then there's a little bin, tissue bin. She reaches in and gets a tissue and while she watches the porn. And you're like, what kind of a movie is this? What kind of a movie is this? The thing is that it's so beautifully shot, you're like, this is just a
nice artsy
This
film.
is an artsy movie about artists.
I mean, you know how wild something's got to be to confuse Louis C.K.? Anyway, The Piano Teacher also happens to be a beautiful film, and it's from the same director as Funny Games, and it's also included on Max. But Isabelle Huppert plays a piano teacher, and my God, like, her performance is not only incredible in this movie, but, really famous actors like Jessica Chastain attribute this performance with their main approach to acting. She plays such a complicated character in this movie and conveys so much of that complexity just through minor expressions. It's really incredible. If you're kind of a film nut at all, I think you really kind of need to see this movie. It also happens to be very sexually explicit, and explicit in ways I've never seen or heard of. Really intense stuff. She has these just super dark desires that she kind of wants to express. She's getting older, hasn't ever really been able to. This movie goes there in multiple ways. It's another one that's very, very difficult to explain without giving away some key things, but this is one that kind of shook me. The moment it was over, it's got a wild final moments and is just a gripping movie if, you know, you're a grown-up and can handle mature stuff like this. Trust me, not everybody is. Now, I didn't see The Piano Teacher till I was like well in my 30s. Like, it still surprised me, but my next pick, I was a young man when I first saw Leaving Las Vegas, and surprisingly, like, I absolutely loved this movie. Now, this one's an innocence destroyer in a couple of ways. The first one is kind of obvious. Nicolas Cage plays an alcoholic in this movie, and it is one of the best depictions of an alcoholic I think an actor has ever done.
I enjoyed the cinematic experience of Leaving Las Vegas. I can't say I really believed a great deal of it, because, bottom line, you're not that charming, you stink, and you bleed from your asshole when you drink like that.
I mean, he manages to be entertaining, but he also just, like, breaks your heart multiple times in this movie. And so does Elizabeth Shue. She plays a prostitute in Las Vegas. The two of them kind of fall in love, but they're both still doing the thing that they do. Despite their love for each other, like, it's not strong enough to kind of break either one of them out of these, like, chains that they've got, which is such a heartbreaking premise for a movie. So there's layers to this one, and some of the sexual stuff is super intense in Leaving Las Vegas, but it's ultimately just a really sad movie that I have watched I don't know how many times in my life. I've watched it way more than once. I really enjoyed it every time, and I find that I like glean a lot from it. Same goes for my number one pick. One that was just sexually insanely intense the first time I saw it, but that has also grown on me over the years that I've just seen more and more in every time I watch it. Stanley Kubrick's last film, Eyes Wide Shut.
We should be grateful. Grateful that we've managed to survive through all of our adventures.
Now, this is one that largely disappointed audiences when it released. There was a crazy amount of hype for this movie, and it's one of his stranger flicks for sure. Certainly one that you cannot walk away from in one watch and feel like you understand what it's trying to say. You maybe understand what happened, but not what's actually happening behind all of that. My goodness, so many things come to life in this movie the more you watch it. Stanley Kubrick was trying to tell us something legitimately with this movie. I mean, he coincidentally died days after his first screening with some of the studio execs. They wanted some changes. He reportedly was fighting them on it. He died. The movie was changed significantly, yet it still has like these little hidden meanings in it all throughout. It is just an amazing watch that has a lot to say about obsession, not just sexual obsession, even though that's definitely a lot of what this movie's about, but it's just got a lot of commentary on obsession itself, which I find just really interesting. It's a mind-blowing movie and well worth revisiting if you like decoding things and picking them apart. I love this flick for that. But here's a recap of the list. I know there's some wild ones on this list, but hopefully you found something good to watch. But I'll keep making these as long as y'all keep watching them. Thanks for checking out this special episode, and you will see me on the next one.